So I got an email from a friend of mine, telling me that another friend of mine who went to Paris the other day kind of lost his mind. He went on a bit of a rampage. He sort of removed all his clothing, poured mayonnaise and wine over his head, ran down the street shouting like mental, and then he eventually jumped off a Point Neuf bridge. Apparently he's insane.
Oh, Hang on.
Hang on? What do you mean, hang on? That was a good one.
I'm trying to work it out. Honestly.
Insane. The river. Sane.
Oh, okay.
Oh, if he needs to explain it, man, then,
Look.
So I'm really sorry. Oh, God.
Okay, note to self. Geography ones don't work. Right, okay, anyway, hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Dog version 2, episode 49. I'm Lee.
I'm Darren.
I'm Jim.
And I'm stupid.
And this week, we'll be seeing how everyone's week's been. It's been an eventful week for a couple of us. And then we'll move on to a bit of feedback for this week's movie, last week's movie, which was Train to Busan 2 Electric Boogaloo, Peninsula. And then we will move on to this week's movie, which is, Jim?
The 10th Victim.
The 10th Victim, which is going to be an interesting conversation, I suspect. Yes. Yes, if you like your science fiction, French, Italian, new wave weird, then this is definitely going to be the discussion for you. But anyway, we'll get to that. I don't know why I said French. It's just totally Italian, isn't it? What am I talking about?
There's a fair bit of French new wave in there.
Yeah.
Fairness.
I was going to say, I think it was probably the look of it that was doing that for me. But anyway, right. But we'll get to that later. So we'll start our podcast with how is your week? And we'll start by asking you, Elton, how your week was. What's been going on with you?
Oh, man alive. Well, I have joined the group of furlough, I'm afraid. I have been furloughed. Good, hard, and proper. But it's all been sorted out, so it's not as bad as it could be. So
right.
Kind of mopping the brow on that one. It was close for a moment, but it's still not pleasant. I don't want to be there. I'd rather be working.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is, I'm afraid. So, just got to take that one on the chin. And carry on and do what I can. And so, in the meantime, I have been going through the million boxes that we moved from one house to another. We moved to a bigger house. Doesn't feel like it, though.
Nature abhors a vacuum, Elton.
Yeah.
You should know that.
Yeah. And what I'm learning is I don't have as many magazines as I thought I had. Because I thought I had thousands of Formula One magazines, and I don't. Thank goodness.
Right.
Because I don't have the shelf space for it. But DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
Every fucking box I open up,
there's
about 20 DVDs in there.
The question might be, have you watched any of them? Or are they all still in their cellophane?
I've come across 3 that are still in their cellophane.
Right.
And one magazine that was still in cellophane.
Subscription, was it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get round to that one day. 10 years later. No, didn't. Oh, there you go. But yeah, the DVDs, man, they keep coming. It's just, I'll open up this box, see what's it. Oh, it's DVDs, isn't it? DVDs everywhere. And we have this new little TV cabinet, and the PlayStation sat on there, the TV's on there, and it's got another shelf at the bottom. And I was thinking, maybe I could get my PlayStation 2 out, or my PlayStation out, and put it on there, something a bit retro, like the Mega Drive, put that down there, and it'll look quite cool. But I need this space for DVDs at the moment. So what I'll do, I'll just put all the DVDs on there, and that'll save us space. So I filled this shelf. It's probably about a meter wide, 3 deep of DVD boxes. Okay, so that's chock-a-block. And I thought, right, that's the majority of them.
Yep.
Then I open up another box, and that box is full of DVDs.
Yay.
And then I open another box, and that's full of DVDs. And
Nice.
and infinitum keeps coming. They're breeding somewhere. They're like flipping traffic cones. They keep turning up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with these things anymore because they're not worth anything. I don't know. I don't know.
Send the whole lot to Music Magpie. You'll get at least £1.
Oh.
Thing is, they're not worth anything now.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got rid of their DVDs, but give it 2 years' time when people can't find jack shit on the streaming services,
Which
and all
will
these
get-
discs are out of print.
Yeah.
Quids in, my friend.
I was going to say, wait, because that's part of my week. Because that ties in very neatly. But yeah, I'd keep hold of them. I would.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I can't get. I'm a bit of a massive hoarder. I've learning, even though I've known for like 10, 15 years, I'm a massive hoarder. It's slowly dawning on me that I need to get rid of stuff. But do you know, I was going through like paperwork, which is from when I was at college, and I'm looking at it and going, I might need that one day.
That was way back in the days when everything was black and white.
Yeah, there was no
Dinosaurs roamed
internet
the earth.
then. It was. I was looking at stuff like test papers from '97, going, but I might learn. I might read this one day. No, I'm not going to. But I don't know what it is. It's that connecting and disconnect. I just can't disconnect, and I hate myself for it.
You've got to go Marie Kondo on it, mate. Full Marie Kondo. You've got to go. Does this spark joy? No, throw it in the bin.
Ooh, okay, I might do that then.
Just follow that stuff. You know, just
Yeah.
do I look at this and go, yes, I this makes me happy to look at, or does it just give me anxiety of something else I've got to do? Because if it does, then throw it.
Okay, I might do that then. God, I might throw everything then, even the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what's going
Not
to be.
sparking joy. Here's your stick and the knotted hanky. Get the fuck out. Hit the road. Go on.
Yeah,
Go on.
exactly. Not sparking joy. At least that's what they said on my rap sheet when they took me in for the multiple homicide. Did not spark joy.
I'm afraid, sir, you do not spark joy into me. Fuck off.
Yeah, that was the last thing he ever heard.
Yeah, so, help. Anyone help, please?
Well, if send me a list of your DVDs, I'll take them off your hands.
Yeah, okay. I'll go through them.
All right.
But that's pretty much my week. Sorrow and dismay.
And hoarding.
Yeah.
You
I'd
got
shit in a bag if I could.
keep them listed. Monday, post McDonald's.
Spag bowl.
Nice. That's a winner. Yeah. Oh look, that's a keeper. That's when I had far too much bran flakes. That's a spiky one. I should freeze that and keep that as a weapon just in case anyone breaks in the house.
Where's your fucking tool?
Yeah, stick a lolly stick in it and use it as a baton. Okie dokie. Right. Well, in which case we shall move on then to you, Jim. You haven't been storing poo in the fridge, have you?
No. I've just been cleaning crap out of fridges.
Oh, right.
It's on the great house clearance. I might be able to start painting it soon.
Oh, cool.
And decorating and playing that great game of getting quotes from tradesmen.
Yay.
Don't call you back and then don't turn up. And then when they do, you wait a week and they might consider giving you a quote. And you go, I'd like not that quote. I'll find somebody else. That's too expensive. Oh, it's just a nightmare. I'm just kind of like, I've got too much to do all the time. I'm just not well. I just go and hide for a month somewhere. But other than that, I've been cooking myself some nice food. Made a nice beef madras from scratch. No No cheaty sauces, all the original herbs, spices.
Good
Lots
lord.
of simmering over the weekend. That was good.
Nice.
And also learned how to do like proper like breaded chicken, which doesn't involve deep fat frying, which is pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. There's two ways of doing it. There's the simple way, which is okay, it's pretty good, but there's a proper way that I devised.
Mm.
The proper way is you have your bits of chicken, you dip them in milk, then flour, then egg, then your seasoned breadcrumbs,
Right.
and bake in the oven 10 minutes either side. You get lovely, crispy, like fried chicken, but no oil and lard. However, there's a shortcut hack version. Dip in mayonnaise and bung that in your breadcrumb mixture and in the oven same again.
Nice.
This is nearly as good, but I don't think the breading is as good as doing the proper milk, flour, egg, breadcrumbs.
Right.
But there you go. If you want quick, healthy fried chicken, there you go. Dip your chicken in mayonnaise, roll it in your seasoned breadcrumbs, whack it in the oven on a bit of baking parchment, 10 minutes either side, depending how big your bits of chicken are. Like
Nice.
little nuggety bits. Perfect. That's my top recipe tip for this week for you all.
Well, there you go. So between you and Darren, we're slowly evolving into a cooking show.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Baking with Black Dog. There you go. I like that. And I think we could make something of that. Cool. Okay. Anything else?
Other than that, I've been having a bit of a King Kong marathon. I've watched the original. I've watched Son of Kong. Watched Mighty Joe Young, and I also watched something called Queen Kong.
Dare I ask?
Came out at the same time as the '76 version. Dodgy Anglo-European production. Stars Rula Lenska in the Carl Denham role.
Rula Lenska?
Yeah.
There's a name to conjure with. Hold on.
And
Dennis Waterman wasn't in it as well.
No. This is the best bit.
He did
Also
the theme
starring
Yeah, go on.
Robin Asquith.
Oh,
That's a photographer called Ray Fay.
oh my God.
Yes.
Called Ray Fay.
Yes.
And let me guess, does Queen Kong fall for him?
Yep.
Oh.
Was he married to someone called Oh Do Please Fuck Off? Because Ray Fay, fuck off. Just fuck off.
Do they go to the top of the Blackpool Tower? have a fight with a couple of kites?
No. It's sort of Big Ben. or rather, a very poor model of Big Ben. Yeah, not good. Not good. It's the first half not bad because it is very much taking the piss and the comedy. It is sort of setting like a worm that turns world where the gender roles are reversed.
Right.
But halfway through, it seems to forget that, which rather knackers the entire premise of the film. But there you go. But I did like on Skull Island, you got the big gate and then the posts where they tie Kong's victim. In this, it's a giant picnic table complete with a gingham tablecloth. I think it's quite funny.
Right.
I don't recommend it, really.
No.
Just look at clips, I'd say. Look
Okay.
at clips on YouTube and see the good bits. But
May
don't
I-
sit through the full thing.
May I ask where you saw this?
I found it in the street.
Nice. Yeah. It's a curse. It's a curse. They pass it on. You have to make someone else watch it now.
I think I did that already with covering Patient Zero on Commentary Club.
Oh
Right.
God. Yeah.
As soon as you record it, it says it's coming off Amazon in the middle of the month for no reason. Like, hey, we've done it
Yeah.
again. We got rid of Howard the Duck off Netflix. It's like taking out the bad films one by one.
Oh blimey! You got a bit of a way to go, but every step counts.
Yep.
Oh blimey! Okay, right. Okay. Well, Queen Kong. There's a name to conjure with. Right. Well, shall we move on, or do you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's enough, I think, from me.
That'll do. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Then we'll move over to you, Comrade Barnard.
Comrade, but no, I'm not. I'm just Darren Barnard.
Go on.
We've got to start sounding fucking Scottish soon. You watch.
Yeah. Well, you move usually from Indian into Welsh at some point as well.
Yeah, I think that's the way it goes normally.
Mhm.
Yes, my week of pain.
Yes.
My week of pain. As someone who has successfully used Facebook for the past, 12, 14 years without a problem, this week my account got hacked.
Yes.
And when I say hacked, somebody went in there, changed the password, and then took out my fucking email address and put their own one in it.
Nice.
Luckily, I managed to find out what that email address was because it comes up with all stars. So I was informed as to what the email address was. I managed to get in contact with Facebook. I've got to say, they're possibly the most elusive support group for any social media app at all. It is literally like hunting the fucking Yeti, right?
Yeah.
Trying to get in contact with these guys, trying to figure this shit out. So I managed to get in contact with them, told them the situation. They wanted proof, so I sent them proof of as to who I was, and they were like, "Yep, fantastic, that's great, not a problem." And they said, "Here's a login code, go for it." And they added my email address back into the fold. And for the past week, I've been trying to get back in with absolutely no joy whatsoever. They just keep sending me the same code. I have to, as soon as you use it, it says it's been used too many times, or it will get you to change the password. And when you go to change the password, it says, "Oh, there's been a problem. Thank you." And it's like, "Oh," and it says, "Well, now you can log in with your Google account if you want to. You just hit this link." So you hit this link, and it takes you back to that page again. It says, "Oh, you can log in with your Google account. Why don't you hit this link?" So you hit the link again, and it goes, "Oh, you can log in with your Google account. Hit this link."
Have you tried it with... were you doing this on your phone by any chance?
I've done it on my phone. I've done it on my computer. I've done it a couple of different ways. I've done it through the app, and it's always the same thing. So what's happened is it looks like they've kind of removed my account from visibility, and I've actually been into Facebook with a brand new account to try and see whether the guys that had hacked my account were just blocking everybody. No. It's been
completely gone.
Completely taken out of circulation. So I've sent, after a lengthy search on the internet, I found an article about getting in contact with Facebook.
Yeah.
And it is a 10-step guide as to the various different ways you can get hold of them. You shouldn't need a 10-step guide with different methods of getting hold of anybody from support from possibly one of the most important social media apps out there. Everybody and your mum's got, Facebook now, right? And I'll tell you what, on a serious note, I can't tell you how sick I felt knowing this had happened. The anxiety this has caused me has been off the fucking scale.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like someone walking into your house, breaking into it, not moving anything at all, or maybe just changing the locks, but doing nothing else. How would you feel about that, knowing that somebody had been in your house, just walked around your house quite freely without your permission?
Yeah, well, I'd kind of hoped they would have swept up a bit,
Yeah, they do. They do the fucking cleaning, or prepare a nice meal, leaving some sandwiches in the fridge. But no, it's like I think about all the stuff all the memories, all the photographs on there, all the messages between friends and whatever, and they've had access to it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as it goes, I mean, we, just so that everyone's clear, because, obviously did put it up on the Facebook group, because you're senior admin on the Facebook group. Yeah, we had a short burst of issues.
We did.
To say the least. We lost 20 people. 20 people just vanished out of the members group.
Right.
Though a quick squiz through the old admin logs show that they were actually dead accounts anyway. So there you go.
Ah,
But
cool.
Yeah, so
if that's what they've done for me, if they've broken into my account and actually done some housekeeping for the Black Dog, then no, fucking good on you.
Yeah,
comrade.
So, but I will say, if anybody out there listening is a member of the group and just checks in and finds they can't get in, just DM me or message me or something, and I'll put you back in. But yeah, we lost. Yeah, suddenly it was literally like 20 people just went and just vanished. It was like, oh, that's not good. And I was suddenly like panicking that we were going to lose the entire group, basically.
Yeah.
until Facebook stepped in and killed your account or did whatever they did to it.
Well, I would rather them completely blat it and destroy it and get rid of it than have it still hanging there with access to it from whoever. So I've now sent a mail to
Mark, mate Mark.
My mate Mark, to this thing called, one of the email addresses, disabled@fb.com, who apparently deal with disabled accounts and hacked accounts.
Right.
Just to say to them, look, it's all been confirmed that I am who I am, but this is what's happening. I've also asked them to remove an email address from my account that's on there and to put in a new 20-digit password or something like that. Anything. Don't tell me what it is. Just send me a reset code, but just so the person can't get in there and do anything with it. You know?
Cool. Apart from that.
So, moving on from the whole fucking sordid affair there. This week, I took a little bit of a chance. I was going through Amazon. Or Amazonsky, as it suddenly turned up on my phone. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure what triggered that.
I tell you, using password 1234 as your password is not a safe password.
I know that was my downfall. I thought, no, it's like, surely they'll think, no, surely he couldn't use a password like that. No, it must be something much more complicated.
Darren, with a capital
Darren, my password. I went to Amazon and I bought for $4.99 the entire first season of Soap.
Soap?
Do you remember Soap?
Yeah, I remember
Soap.
Yeah.
Confused? You won't be after this episode of Soap.
Mm-hmm,
this is the story of two sisters, Jessica Tate and Mary, whatever her name was. It's great.
Yep.
Now there's one or two sort of there's maybe one or two sort of like off-color jokes in it, but I've got to say I actually found myself sitting there laughing at it after all this time. It's got Billy Crystal in it as well, so one of his very early roles.
Yeah,
playing a sort of in and out of the closet gay man, and he's very, very good in it. Some of the humour that comes out of it is absolutely excellent. But there's also, throughout the actual series, I'm noting this, even though it's very funny, there are moments of just like tragedy in it. And it's mainly to do with one character, and that's Jessica, who is kind of just a incredibly sweet soul who doesn't realise, even though she's literally being hit in the face with it, that her husband Chester is having an affair. All right, he's had many affairs, and the realisation is brought home to her in one episode, and it's just heartbreaking watching it. It really is, and it just goes to show you why people in that series won Emmys and stuff like this.
Yeah,
because of the performance. So it's been good to go back. I've introduced Ree to it as well, and she's like, "This is really addictive." They're in each episode something like 22 minutes long, I think it is, and it's just crazy. It's bonkers. And just for anybody that doesn't know, this is a show that parodies all soap operas, and it covers everything from sexual identity to alien abduction to possession by the devil.
As you
do. And I've got to say, the actual storyline with the possession of it's a possession of a small child by the devil. that is the one that always stands out in my mind as one of the best storylines I ever had on there, because in the end, it's Jessica that takes the devil down, and it's brilliant. It's such a great little moment where she just tells him basically to fuck off. Okay. And this house is clear. So but it's very funny. Some great performances all round, and it was the show that spawned the spin-off Benson.
Yeah, as
well. He's one of the best characters in that show, by the way. Along with the son, the young boy who's basically a 40-year-old man inside a fucking 11-year-old's body.
Right.
How old are these shows?
Oh, this was 1977 it started.
Right, okay.
And it went on to 1981. And it's 22 episodes a season. And they're nice, quick little episodes, Like I say, there's some humour in it that probably wouldn't be appreciated today. But and there's some things that come out of the mouths of some of the characters you think, yeah, you wouldn't get away with that in today's scripting.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No.
But in general, it's actually fared pretty well, I think.
Ah, okay. Because okay. So, and you actually bought that to watch on Amazon, or did you get a DVD or what?
No, I bought the whole season on their streaming service for something like £4.50, and that's 22 episodes of that show, and it's just makes me want to go out and now buy the box set.
Cool.
And just sit and watch just go through that, because there's other crazy shit that goes on in it. It's like one of the main characters fakes his own death in it as well, because he's being blackmailed. There's all kinds of stuff like this. There's a kidnapping, and they have to go in and try and rescue the person, and it is complete and utter bonkers. It really is, but I love it to death.
Okie dokie. Well,
there we go.
I was going to say, I think that completely passed me by, to be honest. It was always on at like flipping 11 o'clock at night on my TV or something, wasn't it?
Oh, I used to. It was a regular in our house back there when it was first on. It's like the Hill Street Blues. We used to always have that on. Yeah. When it was on, and quite endearing to me. When I hear the theme tune, I just think happy thoughts. There's a lot of happiness revolved around it. And of course there's some actors who went on to do things like Babylon 5 came out of that show as well. What's the guy's name? Peter Jurassic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He played, was it Tony the Snitch or whatever the fuck his name was? Can't remember. So, Soap. Give it a go if you can. Have a watch. Go from the first episode, and it is, it's a crazy show, but it's great. I love it. Yeah,
it was our end theme for this podcast for about
for
about 3 years. But cool. Okie dokie. Well, fine. So is that it, sir? Just your week done?
I think so.
Cool.
Did I play anything this week? Let's see. I played a few things, actually. Oh, Outriders.
Oh,
the new one that came out. That came out on was it Xbox Game Pass?
You mean Gears of War meets Destiny?
It's kind of like that. It's you got to watch that game. You can't really pause it, because normally you can just press the Xbox button and it literally freezes the game there. Even if you reboot the Xbox, you can just go back.
No,
it ignores that, and all of a sudden I've jumped about 5 minutes of story.
Mm-hmm.
So I've uninstalled it. I thought I'll come back to that when I've got more time.
Yeah, it's a garbage fire. If you play Gears of War, then stick with that, because it's exactly that.
Is it?
It came out on a demo on PlayStation 4 a couple of weeks back, and I played it, and it was just. It felt like a game I was playing a game from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Not much to recommend it, unless of course you're on a PlayStation and you've never played Gears of War, in which case have at it. But it's not worth £60. I can tell you that for fucking nothing.
Really?
Yeah, It's not worth that.
Okay.
But you get it on live or get it on PlayStation Pass or whatever they call it nowadays, and yeah, go for it. Have at it. It's a distracting couple of hours, but little more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my week. I went to the zoo yesterday. I actually went out.
And they didn't keep you in.
No, they didn't keep me in. Ha ha ha! Yeah. No, we went. We had booked yonks and yonks ago, well before lockdown actually kicked in. Was a trip to Chesington, which has constantly been moved ever since. Keep getting emails saying no, we can't have it there, and no, we can't have it now, and no, we can't have it now, and that's fair enough. And so it opened up yesterday for the first time ever. And so they said, "Oh, you can come to this," and it's like, okay, fine. So we went there, and promptly it snowed. So that was great.
Oh,
it's nothing better than wandering around a zoo in the snow because even the animals can't be fucked to get up. So it was like, well, let's walk around an empty zoo, and then let's go to Chesington World Adventures because that's the adventure bit. And then it's like, well, actually, because of the weather, none of the rides are running. Yay! So, yeah, they did. It did eventually. In fairness, it did eventually all warm up, and the animals came out, and the rides started running. But because of because obviously COVID and social distancing and everything, they weren't letting as many people on the rides. They weren't doing indoor rides. There were no indoor events. So all the SeaWorld and everything was shut and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they did very well keeping everyone social distance. I'll give them that. A venue that big, you'd think it was just going to be a free for all. And having seen all the stuff on the news from yesterday, from the pubs, people queuing outside the pubs at midnight to get in the next day, it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. But
Golden Bennett.
Seriously, yeah. This next lockdown, I tell you, it's going to be called the Primark Super Spreader, sponsored by Toby Young. Anyway, so Young's Pubs and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we went round there. That was quite a nice time. It was lovely to get out and actually do something for the first time in what feels like forever. And yeah, there's not a lot else to it really. I mean, we went round, did a couple of. I did one ride, which was like a little safari thing. Yeah. But that was, they clearly hadn't got their timings right because, based on the queue, the computer says, oh, this is going to be a 5-minute queue. So you go, okay, fair enough. I don't mind queuing for 5 minutes. But because of COVID restrictions and, only so many limited people going on these rides instead of like the full force of like everyone get on the fucking thing, it suddenly becomes like, oh, well, actually that 5 minutes is actually more closer to an hour. So you're sitting there in the queue, and then you sort of got to that point where you're halfway along and you're kind of committed. You're like, yeah, I should just bail on this bollocks, but no, we'll stay. Then
you'd end up bailing on everything then, though, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And then when you go past other rides, like the new rides that are over there, that they've just opened up, and it says a queue wait of 80 minutes, and then you suddenly see a queue and you think, that's more than 80 minutes. There must have been people who literally walked through the door and just joined the queue and then stayed there for 12 hours, I think. Shit. But, wow. Yeah, because they just kept everything so social distance, which is fair enough. And I've got no problem with that. I think the problem was that, if they tell you, waiting 5 minutes, you think, oh, fine. But if you're sitting there and it's like the sun's risen and fallen, you're still standing in a queue for a 5-minute ride. You're like, I'm not totally sure. I feel like I've wasted my time. But anyway, so that was one thing. I watched a new film on Amazon. Which I think we might cover at some point in the future once it's kind of died down a bit. Called Palm Springs. Has anyone heard of this?
Palm Springs. Oh, yes. Well, I want to see that.
Yeah,
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Lonely Island, and it's kind of like an edgy rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
But what you've got is that crossed with Groundhog Day, which you might immediately just go, oh God, here we go again, another time loop thing. But what's the twist is that he's found he accidentally finds some weird temporal anomaly in a cave outside the most boring wedding that he didn't even want to go to at this wedding party. And essentially he finds out that by going into this anomaly, he's trapped himself in this loop of time that lasts exactly one day. He always wakes up in the same place. It doesn't matter what happens to him throughout the day, no matter how far away he is, no matter how far he gets. The instant he falls asleep, he's back at the beginning of the day that he's just left.
Right. Okay.
But where the twist comes in is that at the party, where he seems to be completely drunk, he's wandering around, he's in this, like, he's dressed completely inappropriately. This the bride's sister notices that he seems to be doing this thing where when she first discovers him, he's kind of wandering through the party and he's doing things like someone's falling over and he just pulls a chair for the person, stops them from falling over. He gives this fantastic speech at the wedding. He goes around and he sort of like offers up certain drinks because he knows certain people will be in the right place at the right time. He does all these things. Yeah. And it turns out that she's not in the loop. And then something really weird happens, which I won't spoil. But essentially, she ends up in the time loop with him, trapped with him. Because she follows him into this cave. And because she follows him into this cave, she's now living the same loop as well. And they both retain their memories. But now she's like, oh Christ, I didn't even want to be here for my sister's wedding in the first place, and I don't like my parents, and they don't like me, and so they end up sort of like going on the sort of usual Groundhog Day thing, but she's working to get out of it, and meanwhile some random guy is hunting them down. Played by J.K. Simmons. He just randomly turns up and starts firing arrows at Andy Samberg for reasons that don't make any sense initially. And it starts off as quite a raunchy thing for the first 15-20 minutes, and then it kind of calms down and it just becomes this kind of, I don't know, it becomes this kind of weird nihilist comedy where they kind of realise that they're not getting out of this thing, or if they are, they haven't discovered a way out. And it's just like, well, if nothing matters, what matters? And then they sort of try and do the Groundhog Day thing of doing everything right, and then and it's whether or not they're actually comfortable doing this thing over and over again, and whether or not they're actually quite comfy doing this weird loop and get used to the fact that actually because nothing changes, they can actually enjoy themselves. And it's it's almost like kind of that whole thing of, it's almost kind of like the lockdown thing. It's like you get habitualized to the fact that nothing's going to change. So actually, you know what? Maybe we like being here doing this. And it's kind of an interesting twist, and it is funny. It does have some quite brilliant moments. It's not laugh out loud all the way through, but it's well worth a look. And like I say, for a rom-com where you can definitely see where it's going, it takes some interesting turns. That's all I'll say.
Gotcha. Right. What was that called again?
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
Yeah, and it's literally appeared on Amazon this week, so well worth a look. What else? Oh, I started watching Invincible, the cartoon, after you recommended it. And it's 25 minutes of ho hum, here we go, normal heroics origin story. And then it's the last 5 minutes you go, fucking hell!
Exactly.
And
you're like, what have I walked in on?
It is literally like discovering that Superman's a donkey fucker. It really is just a weird moment of kind of like, what on earth have I just watched? So I will be watching more of that. But me and Katie sat down to watch it, and my daughter, and quite funny because she was like all into it, and then all of a sudden it took that turn at the end.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm out, peace out." And yeah, but we sat and watched. We also watched Hot Fuzz, which I haven't done since we reviewed it.
All right.
Yeah, because I still have a problem with it, sort of weighing too heavily on the old homages to Point Break and Bad Boys 2 and everything. So. Yeah, but no, I watched it this time. I enjoyed it a lot more this time. I don't know if it's just one of those comedies that I'm just slowly going to just eventually keep coming back to until I actually do like it, like Stockholm Syndrome. But yeah, so that was that. Yeah, I think that's about it really. I've and then today trying to pick the movie for this week. And this was where it ties into Elton's DVDs and what Jim was saying. I tried to go through it because I thought, you know what, Jim picked a really interesting film this week, regardless of whether we like it or not down the line. But it was an interesting off-kilter choice, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go through the IMDb top 250. And then I'm going to use Netflix and Amazon, and I'm going to see if I can find one of those top 250 so we can pick it. Go for a proper quality movie, or at least supposed quality movie, and see what we can find. Because it's easy to find shit on Amazon or shit on Netflix. Out of 250 entries, I got as far as 150, right? From 1 to 150. How many? Because Darren, you obviously not been on Facebook, so you wouldn't have seen this post. But how many of the top 250 did I find on Netflix? From 1 to 150, you got to pick a number. How many of those were actually in the top 150 of IMDb?
2.
Right. Okay. And what about Amazon? How do you think Amazon did?
Probably I think they did about 30 or 40 of those.
Right, okay. Well, Amazon, of the first 150 in the IMDb top 100 and 250, Amazon had 18. And
18?
And Netflix had 14. And 12 of them, both of them shared.
Wow.
So really... Of unique films, Amazon had 6, and Netflix had 2. The top 150 films.
Yeah.
So I'm now strongly considering once lockdown ends and we can get off the just purely streaming services for Black Dog, I think I might be investing my £7 a month for Netflix into buying all of the top 150 DVDs because there are some films there that should not be missing from a digital library. But so I was quite shocked at that. So, but that's what you do when you're sitting there rendering. Your computer's just chugging away. You can't do anything. So you're thinking, well, what can I do now? I can't leave because I'm still working, but I've got to be here just in case someone emails me. I know. I'll check the top 250 of IMDb and see what's on Netflix. So that was that. So that's my week basically. So we shall move on. I mean, Jim, I was going to say you brought up a point on my Facebook when I brought it up. And I feel you should bring that point up because it was a good little sum up.
Well, listen, I remember when streaming services start, people saying, you know what, I'm stopping buying DVDs, and I just have this big, online cloud digital archive library, and that'll be me done, and that'll be great, and I'll get all my shelf space back. But the thing is, streaming services, I think they've turned into basically a 21st digital equivalent of those grubby little video shops that sprang up in the corner of off licenses and corner shops and fucking petrol stations at the end of in the mid 80s.
That's it.
Where there's kind of like a selection of grubby films you've never heard of before, and everyone's fighting to get the one copy of Ghostbusters.
And that's exactly it. And then just before we went on air, we were looking under Netflix for hidden gems, and apparently Netflix recommended for me as hidden gems Unforgiven, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and fucking Ghostbusters.
Right, okay.
Hidden gems if you're 5. If you don't even know the idea of the moving image, these will all be new to you. So
people also know if you go onto Amazon and search for Ghostbusters, it is it is titled, and this fucks me off. And I've heard people saying this about other movies as well, but it is titled Ghostbusters 1.
Yes.
Nothing
Ghostbusters
more
1, eh?
fucks me off than people giving the first movie a number. It's like when people turn around and say Aliens 2. What? What did you just get wrong there? What did you just get wrong there? You got everything wrong there. Do you mean Alien 2? Or do you mean Aliens? Or do you mean Aliens 2? What does that mean? It means nothing, you idiots.
There you go, Elton. I knew I knew you were pent up when we started, just before we hit go. I knew you had that. I knew you wanted to get that off your chest. I just left the platform for you.
I don't understand why people say that.
I don't.
If you say Ghostbusters, I know what you mean when you say Ghostbusters. You don't have to say Ghostbusters 1, because when you say Ghostbusters 2, that means the second one.
Yeah, but but you know, or you have to stick a comma or a colon after everything now, isn't it? Ghostbusters Afterlife or Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's when you know. That's when you know when you've got a sequel, because it has a in it. You stick a little colon on the end of it. Did anyone see the trailer of that, by the way?
No,
not the new one.
Yeah, the little moment with Paul Rudd.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Can I just have a little rant about that? Because I one part of me was like, "Ooh, that's interesting," and another part of me was just like, "Oh, fuck off."
I have the same feeling of it, so go for it.
Yeah, Jim, do you mind?
I don't care. No,
right,
go
okay.
for it.
To cut a long story short, for those of you who haven't seen it, Paul Rudd is walking through a supermarket, and he's just picking up ice cream, and then he hears someone scream. And then he goes over to the sweet counter, and he's kind of walking past some stuff, you know, like for syrups and whatnot. And then there's a bag of marshmallows starts rustling, and the marshmallows pop open as he looks at it, and then tiny little marshmallow man, little Mr. Stay Puft, pops out like a sort of like Marshmallow Man version of Baby Yoda. And as Paul Rudd's eyes widen and the old Elmer Bernstein music sort of fires up, you know, sort of kind of thing, suddenly he turns around and there they all are doing the Gremlins thing. You know, they're sort of like skewering each other, roasting each other over fires. There's thousands of them, and they're on like Roombas and riding around the shop and all this kind of shit. And on the one hand, I'm sitting there going, okay, you know, it sounds like Ghostbusters because there's the Elmer Bernstein soundtrack, and it's got that sort of mundane look about it. But why do we have to go back to Mr. Stay Puft again? Jesus
Ghostbusters.
Christ! No, I mean that, and it's the what was it? Sean McGowan called it on the Facebook group, member berries. It's just tickling the member berries, and it's just like, I can't stress enough. Anyone who wants to make a sequel to anything, make a sequel, by all means. If you're going to do it, do whatever you like. But don't get something that's a plot point from the first one and use it as some kind of weird icon throughout every single other fucking goddamn fucking sequel, because then it's pointless. It's like the Mr. Stay Puft was just Gozer. using Ray's memories and Ray using his memories to try and make Gozer harmless, and then having the whole thing, devil's deal, basically backfire on him. That's it. Ghosts didn't automatically all across the entire universe and multiverse suddenly go, oh yeah, Mr. Stay Puft is this form of ultimate power. It's just like, fuck off. You see, it's like the video games, the comics, the cartoons, the fucking, this sequel, the fucking previous sequel, the Sony one, the lady version. I mean, it's just like, Mr. Stay Puft, no, just fuck off. It's like every time you play a game with aliens in it, the Alien movie. It's like, firstly, don't call it
Alien 1 or Aliens 2.
Fuck off. But it's like, don't call them a xenomorph, because only one person in the entire series of movies has ever called them a xenomorph, and he was a fucking idiot. So firstly, no, because that's just stupid. Secondly, stop with the fucking Marines. It's just like, oh God, there was one film.
But aliens.
Oh, can we just have one and not have people with thousands of fucking guns? And it's just this member berries thing that seems to be just doing the rounds with Star Trek. Fucking, there was a trailer for Picard season 2.
Can I just make one comment on that?
Go on.
All right, I've got to say, how are you going to make that fucking work?
I don't care.
How is that going to look? Right? Okay, that's like having an episode of EastEnders and having fucking aliens turn up in it. It's just like, I'm sorry, that doesn't gel with the way you've filmed this. You've tried to give it this hard edge, this real world sort of feel, and now you're having a mystical being turn up in it. I know he's an alien, but
who's also going to looks about 65. But anyway, I'm not going to watch it anyway. I don't know why I'm getting wound up. But it's just that whole thing of, once again, it's like, we can't just progress the story forward. We can't improve matters. We just have to go back to the tickle the member berries, give them a little tickle, cup them if you like, give them a little stroke and tickle.
Would you like a little cupping, sir?
Yes, would you like a little cupping? Oh, it's just like, oh, fuck off.
Suit you.
Seriously. Just get an original idea and fucking do it. Just leave all the old franchises alone. Just fuck off. Anyway, that was my week. But anyway, let's get on to feedback. We didn't have an awful lot of feedback about Peninsula, it must be said. We did mention, obviously, last week that Elton had been haunted TVs and haunted cupboards. How did the haunted cupboard work out, by the way?
The haunted cupboard. I'm trying to remember what we said.
You had a wardrobe with a key in it, and you hadn't opened it yet.
Wasn't a bloke in there called Mr. Tumnus by any chance, was it?
Yeah.
I had a wardrobe. Really?
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Never.
I've got a wardrobe.
You don't remember?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Hang on.
That's a bad sign.
I was going to say, it's already affecting you, man.
Have I come into the wrong universe? I have, haven't I?
You had cursed TVs in the loft, and you had a wardrobe or a cupboard of some kind which you had discovered that may have had a key in it.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember now. Gee,
You're telling us you never heard of 50 pence notes next.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, after our discussion, obviously it made an impact because I put forward the idea that we'd have a podcast where, basically Jim would be our scientific advisor on these matters, and we'd have Peter Organ from the broadcast, come in and do an exorcism in your house.
Well, I remember that was it. It was the cupboard that we ripped out of the bathroom, wasn't it? It was like the medicine cupboard.
You didn't say that. You just said cupboard with a key in it, and you didn't know what was in there. You don't remember it. I think its influence has already worked on you.
Okay.
Well, anyway, Peter actually came back on to leave a piece of information, leave a message to say, I stand ready with my TV Exorcism kit. So he's got, which apparently includes a copy of Bargain Hunt on telly, a packet of Percy Pigs, some holy water, a candlestick, and a remote control for a Sky Q.
I think I might need him.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, Bargain Hunt, it's right there.
Yeah,
So,
Really, at this point, I should have a Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Well, yeah,
fellas coming around my house now, shouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works, isn't it? I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Oliver Monk also chipped in to say that all that Pete should do is plug in a DVD player and stick Galactica 80 disc in, and that should be enough to see off most persistent supernatural emanations. While Alan McPherson said, talked on a completely different subject, following on from my last week when I watched Psycho Gorman, said he was glad to hear that I enjoyed it, and it might be the most fun he's had with a movie since in the last year. It's far from novel in its type of humour, see Wolf Cop, but man, does it capture the right balance. It's like Sid and Marty Krofft had directed Tokyo Gore Police. I'm not familiar with that, but I'll go with it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to wind up being one of those films that benefits from a social effect, like when you pointed out with Austin Powers, or other recent rewatches. Anyone who has the bravery to disagree with me will earn themselves a warrior's death, which is a kind of nod to the film itself if you haven't seen it yet. But anyway, so that was it. We didn't have awful lot of feedback, and most of it wasn't actually about Peninsula, which I think kind of sums up the film entirely. So there you go. In fact, there was more feedback about Kong versus Godzilla, which was people posting up things about honest trailers and reviews and stuff. So Peninsula really didn't go down very well. That's all I can say. So that's that. But if anybody does want to leave feedback, whether it's for anything we've said in this week's cast, anything we said in the previous casts, just leave it on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/The Black Dog Podcast, or send us in feedback as an email to feedback@Black Dog Podcast, or hit us up on Twitter, which is again @Black Dog Podcast. Right. So now it's time for us to get our 60s wraparound shades, paint everything white, cover it all in glitter and cool jazz music, and we'll just sit down and listen to some classic jazz as we try to kill each other in a very smooth and cool way as we watch this week's film, The 10th Victim. Roll the jingle.
Yours. I'm trying to get to sleep.
Right, okay, so the 10th victim, otherwise known, now here we go, mangling the Italian language, la decima vittima.
Say it quickly and get away with it.
La decima vittima, which is basically the 10th victim if you were an idiot. If you were Italian, you would probably have said it totally different. The 10th Victim is a 1965 Italian international co-production science fiction film directed by Elio
Cool J.
I was going to say that.
LL Cool J. Elio Petri. There you go. Starring Marcello Mastroianni. Oh, for fuck's sake. Do me a favour. Mastroianni. Galbani,
or Mastriani.
Mastiani,
That bloke.
Galbani, Galibiani,
Gary Barlow.
Gary Barlow, yeah. Anyway, it also stars Ursula Andress and features Elsa Martinelli in a supporting role. The picture was based on Robert Sheckley's 1953 short story, The Seventh Victim, and it depicts a government-endorsed televised big hunt featuring contestants from all around the world acting as hunters and then victims. Marco Paletti and Caroline Meredith are the game's two top assassins who are pitted against each other, and they find love in the most dangerous game of all. Sheckley later published a novelisation of the film in 1966 and two sequels, Victim Prime and Hunter Victim, in 1987 and 1988 respectively. In the United States, the film was released by Joseph E. Levine's Embassy Pictures. It has no budget listed whatsoever, and so therefore has no box office either to speak of. Don't ask me why, so we can't do that. It was released in Italy and France and uses English language as an overdub. I think it's safe to say it's influenced everything from Battle Royale to the Hunger Games to Death Race to Running Man to
RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop, you name it. It's got elements of that have influenced things like Clockwork Orange and that sort of spy thrillers. I mean, the thing I noticed was after we watched Austin Powers and we did some facts on it from IMDb, was that one of the things that Mike Myers did with Austin Powers was initially created as a drummer for a band called Ming T.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was his thing, and that's where the Austin Powers character came from. So the fact is that he expressly referenced this film, and then it got referenced again with the Ursula Andress boob bra blasting thing.
The Machine Gun Jubblies.
Machine Gun Jubblies. She's got Machine Gun Jubblies.
That is a great name for a band.
Machine Gun
Machine
Jubblies.
Gun Jubblies.
Yeah.
Or an album.
Yeah, Machine Gun Jubblies. You can see them only at the Camden Roundhouse for 2 nights only. Bring your own money. Bring your own bottle. Anyway.
That's going to stay with me now. Machine Gun Jubblies.
Machine Gun Jubblies coming soon. First album, white label, 50p. So there you go. It was a film that was not only a thriller and a science fiction sort of satire, but it was also, by the end of it, a comedy. But we'll see how everyone feels about it. Let's go round the table. Top level review on this one before we go into our discussion about it. But Elton, I think you were the last person to watch it today because you mentioned you were going to watch it a little bit earlier on. So with it fresh in your mind, what do you think of it?
Confused as to whether I did like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really draw me in. But I get what it was doing, and I think I enjoyed it for what it was trying to do to me. But I just recognised too many films in it. This film is like instead of laying an acorn and a big tree will grow from branches which you will create other films. This is an acorn that you put in the ground and it just spits out more acorns for you to plant later on.
Right.
It doesn't actually give you like fully formed movies in which you can go off. It just didn't sit quite right with me. I didn't really have fun with it. I could see I should have had fun with it. It just didn't sit quite right with me, though.
Okie dokie. And Darren, what about yourself?
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
I think after watching this, I'll just sum up by saying I don't think me and 60s stroke 70s Italian movies get on.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fine. That's cool. That's fair dues. For me, I'm in that sort of weird mixed bag that I tend to find myself in with films like this. I watched it. I'll confess I watched it twice. The reason was because I watched it the first time, and around the 50-minute mark, I nodded off.
Oh, so I did that too.
So I went back to it and watched it again from the start. I'm a bit like Elton. I saw too much of everything it influenced. So I was immediately on the back foot of kind of like, I know where this is going. I've seen this before. I can see all these influences. I'm also in a little bit of Darren's camp because I think Italian new wave 60s stuff is a bit too cool for its own fucking good.
I think the phrase is style over substance.
No, I don't think style over substance, because the thing is that would imply there was no substance, and there is stuff there.
No,
there's
it
a lot
have
of
to be, no?
Oh,
It's been little, it's just like it seemed to be focused more on looking cool than it did on.
yeah.
That's what I mean by it. It was that.
I'll take that. I mean, it was definitely focused on looking cool, and I spent at Cartoon. I spent the last 4 years at Turner working with nothing but Italians, and I know what it's like. They all want to sit there on their Vespers and look very cool. And apologising if I'm stereotyping Italians, but I can only speak as I find. There was like 4 of them around me, and there's a definite air of cool first, and then once you get past that, you can talk about things. And this film felt very much the same. There was a lot of interesting ideas. There was a lot of interesting concepts, and any one of them could have launched a film. I mean, everything from I was seeing things like Logan's Run in there. I was seeing I was seeing things like that, and I was seeing like all the spy thrillers. Then I was seeing lots of stuff about depression and all these kind of nihilistic things. There was
shades of Clockwork Orange in there as well, wasn't
Clockwork Orange was in there with lots of the look of the thing.
Zardos as well. I got a little bit of that.
A touch of Zardos with the whole
Didn't
sort of
see any orange pants.
Yeah. there was
not a single orange pant in sight.
There wasn't a Sean Connery pants in sight. And so the whole thing about commercialism, which obviously, as you pointed out, Jim, RoboCop is the big go-to for that, isn't it? It's like, or was it, or Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
All those, and that was the thing. It was literally like a big grab bag of things, and I sat there kind of going, "Oh wow, each one of these things is worthy of a film in and of itself," and clearly became a thing of itself. But together, it just didn't work for me. It just felt like it was. It needed another pass, or it needed to be done in another country where they weren't just focusing on the look. Do you know what I mean? I think that was the problem. I think it went full style, and all of the actual substance wasn't thrown away, but it could have been given a better structure to hang off of. Mm-hmm. I think it was just too laid back and too cool and too sure of itself that it was going to look cool first, and the ideas would come through from you watching it again, and that just didn't land for me. But I did appreciate it. What about you, Jim?
Well, as I said last week, I picked this because I thought I had dim memories of seeing it. I certainly had read all the Robert Sheckley stuff.
Mm.
As it turns out, this isn't the film I thought I'd see. It's another another mid-60s thing about assassins. But I did say practically is going to be a fresh watch for me.
Yeah.
As it was, I thought it kind of. I remember the books and the short story better.
Yeah,
and quite familiar with that. But this I found it's so just full of touches of stuff, and I agree. I think it meanders too much, and it could do a really good tightening up. Particularly in the last third, I think, where it wanders off the point.
Yeah.
And it's not helped by I don't think Ursula Andress is a very good actress dubbing opposite side. To be honest, she's a bit of the weak link. But at the same time, what I think my top lines of review, what I find interesting is we think about the 60s, the swinging 60s, shagadelic baby, it's optimistic, everyone's having fun. And this is a nihilistic and utterly cynical film. In a way that I think is still ahead of the game.
Yeah.
We've had dozens of things about future sport and dystopian societies, but no one's gone quite as cynical as we're not just killing for entertainment, but we've got sponsorship deals to plug somebody and spout a catchphrase with a dance number.
yeah.
And it's like a prediction of the world we're not far off. The world of reality TV where people will shill anything.
Exactly. I mean, the only film that's
sell out everything,
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It was like that bit, that whole thing with the marketing and the sort of dancers and everything. My brain immediately went to Running Man.
Yeah.
It was just like straight away, and that was the keen thing all the way through this, was that it was just literally, you were just saying, I just looked at all the ideas that were coming off the screen and I was going like, bloody hell, all these things, it's a fantastic idea here and here and here. But
do you know what, right? I know this influenced Running Man, but I think it's like Stephen King took this story. I mean, it's like Running Man is a remake of this. The actual novel Running Man, not the bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger film, but the actual novel Running Man
definitely
is a remake of this. And it's like, this is what we can really do with it. Take all the style stuff out of it and let's just look at the story here. And it's I'm thinking this is the closest to the proper novel that we've ever seen on screen. Whether it's whatever you think of the film, doesn't matter. This is how the Running Man should have looked, or this is how they should have filmed it, with this kind of, people running around the streets shooting one another. And if you shoot the wrong person, you get carted off as a murderer, but you're licensed to take out this one individual.
So,
but you still got to park your car properly.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is Running Man, but instead of the studio sets, just have it as a
that's what the novel originally was.
Game, really.
Yeah, it's done over the entire the Robert Ball, Richard Bachman, as Stephen King named himself for that book. Basically follows the story of one man who is being hunted across America because of this game show, and trust me, it ends. The ending for this is completely different to the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing that you saw.
Yeah, the idea is that he has to keep moving, doesn't he? And if he stops even for more than 5 minutes, the guys behind him have got permission to shoot him.
Yeah, there's like people get paid for snitching on him and stuff like that. I think it is as well in that novel.
That's right.
And it's kind of this really is. I mean, you can see Stephen King obviously did take his influence from this.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the Running Man novel and with this and with RoboCop, which clearly took some influence from it as well, is this idea of like government and The Purge is another one that's just leapt to mind as well.
Yeah.
Is the idea of taking that reality thing further and just going, you know what, if the government endorse it, then you've taken this sort of violent sort of element to its natural conclusion, where we've commoditized it. We've actually turned it into sort of like, hey, you know what? You want to get paid to kill someone? By all means do so. Join up with this club. You can go around. You can all shoot each other and do whatever you like. We'll film it, and we'll pay you to do it. But you do it wrong, as Jim said. You do it wrong, you'll get carted off for 30 years. But it was super cynical. I mean, I was going to actually ask you guys, what did you think of the actual vision of the future? Because apart from that weird sort of milk bar looking thing, which Ursula Andress does her silver bikini dance in, the rest of the future doesn't look actually futuristic. But I was just wondering what you guys felt about that.
Well,
I always like that 5 minutes in the future sort of look of where things are just subtly different. And it's like the bit like the relaxation station. They're on the freeways, which are kind of like new age brothels, and just the fact that he's got his parents hidden away in his secret room because in this future you get to a certain age and the government comes and says you're too old and sick and crap. They're going to go live on a farm somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's just tons of this weird shit like this, which kind of everything's wrong, and Logan's Run draws on this definitely that kind of idea of not just you get to a certain age and we'll do away with you because you're inconvenient, you're no good to us anymore. But it's also that thing of it's a future where everyone is jaded and bored and unfulfilled. And it's kind of, you think this is 60. We think of the 60s being optimistic and looking forward. But, clearly there are people going, yeah, we've got all these modern gadgets. We've got all this new op art, modern styles. But is it actually any good? People still aren't happy. People are still fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, because I think the thing is when we think of the 60s, what we're actually thinking of is 1971. People with long hair and flares and beards and bells and peace and love. That's early 70s. Mid 60s, it's a lot of this sort of darkness and cynicism. And, you can see it if you read the original Bond novels, Bond is a cold-hearted, cynical killer. The movies changed him into a pin-up and a hero. And the same if you read the Saint novels, the Saint in the book is a bastard, basically, the cold-hearted anti-hero. And that's what I find interesting, this kind of, this isn't an optimistic future like you'd expect from a 60s SF film. But at the same time, the same year this came out, you've got the French Alphaville. And then the year after, you've got Truffaut's Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, God.
Which is, again, all very bleak films about a world where technology's pretty made everything better. Everyone's pretty liberated and we're freer, but nobody's fucking happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Darren, you were gonna pop in with something there. What were you gonna say?
I know you say that this is a very cynical film.
Yeah.
But there's one aspect of it that is both hopeful and just doesn't make any sense at all.
Go on.
Right, and they do this with The Purge. They do this with Rollerball. They did it with that as well, which is this futuristic sport, people getting killed and being very violent to one another. All wars are finished. And it's like, fuck off. We have violent sports now, right? We even have violent sport entertainment in the form of things like WWE. Does that stop people getting shot? Does it stop people getting mugged? Does it stop any fucking wars? No, it fucking doesn't, right?
I think the one thing I'd just stop you right there, though, is what everyone acknowledges but doesn't acknowledge is his acting.
Yeah, I know. But it's the conceit. It's the thing that this sport that we've invented, right, has stopped wars. And it's like, no, right? Because to stop a war, you have to give the other side something, a prize, right? The country that does it. Okay? So I think, what was it? Judge Dredd got very close to this with the lunar battles. So it's like they agree on a battle, so many people involved. Whoever gets their ass kicked is the loser. And if it's for land, you get the land, blah, blah, blah. And this is like, well, it's just one individual getting rich. So how's that stopped all wars?
Yeah, but
the thing is, people don't start wars, governments start wars. And in this case, I think you're in the future where the governments have said, it's a bit, well, like we are in the West. We've not really had a proper war in a long time. We had a few poxy scraps where we go and beat up a few foreigners who haven't got jack shit and go, But we wouldn't have another world war because it's bad for business. And this is a way of kind of commoditized killing. Brilliant. And it keeps the people quiet. Bread and circuses. Fucking rock on.
Yeah,
Crack
that's
on,
the
lads.
phrase. That's the phrase right there. Bread and circuses.
But that's more controlling the populace, you see, because without this, well, it's like one of the three main things that you start a war over: resources, right? Okay, let's see, territory, and also your economy's gone up the fuck, right? Those are the three top reasons that anybody starts a war, right? And there's none of that being kind of, for that to work, you'd have to kind of service at least those three things, right, to stop wars from happening. But that doesn't. And it's like the thing with the purge. Oh yeah, give them 12 hours to do what they want, and everybody will behave themselves. It's like no. What about the psychotic murderers who don't give a shit about that kind of thing and will murder anyway?
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point. It's not the outliers. It's not the one-offs. In the case of the purge, it's not the one-off. It's the sort of businessman who will snap. You know, it's the people who don't like, you know, their work from one day to the next, but, you know, sitting there waiting for purge day, so that they can go and take their boss and kick the fuck out of them for the, you know, without, you know. Can you imagine how nice everyone would be to each other to try and avoid being the target of someone's ire when purge comes around?
Yeah. Or you'd have to get rich and just buy yourself a bunker.
Well, exactly. No, but that's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, I've not seen the Purge films myself, but I was just like, I was just suddenly thinking, you know what? If that was a thing, and suddenly someone says to me, "Okay, Purge Day," you know, I would have a list as long as my arm of people I would go and find.
Yeah.
Just me, them, and a tire iron. But I'm sure that the fact of the matter is, you know, they've got people, and then there's people probably looking for me because I don't like Scott Pilgrim or some bollocks. But I mean, the point is, we'd
all be on a hit list.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, in that respect, you know, I imagine that in that sort of future, you're talking about people being nice to each other to avoid being on a hit list. That form of control actually makes a lot of sense to me.
It does. That
not that I condone it, but you know, no. Lee Metcalf condones eugenics and social sculpting.
But that would make more sense if they did it like that. That's a very interesting point that you make there. That's great. I like that idea. But what was I going to say? I had a point I was going to make there just a minute ago, and yeah, it's gone. Sorry, it's fluttered out of my brain.
Well, what about you, Elton? What's your thoughts on this so far? Or you got any thoughts on this?
It did feel, the actual setting itself. It didn't feel too far in the future type thing, as you said, Jim. 5 minutes into the future, but not everything is so far removed from what we've actually got at the moment. I think Running Man did that as well. I've seen what's it? What's the one on the island? You mentioned it earlier on.
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale as well. It had that flavour to it as well, didn't it? One thing I was taken back by in the very opening shots as well, where the man is chasing the woman, and she's kind of going peekaboo, peekaboo, and running out, and he's just blatantly shooting around all over the place. You're like, okay,
he's a shit shot.
It is a very shit shot, but it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Just having that live in the world, and him, if he caught or nicked anyone, then he'd be banged up because you know, manslaughter or murder. Yeah, and it's a really interesting concept. I was like, I want to see more of that. Unfortunately, we didn't get that.
No,
I think we got more of a, I'm supposed to be killing you, but I'm going to lure you over here and do this. But and you know, the guy actually works it out, and then all of a sudden he blatantly, no, she's definitely not my killer. She's definitely not hunting me, and that didn't interest me. What you had at the very beginning interests me, even when it was in that weird pub type thing. I swear I've been in that pub as well. But that weird dance off type
We've all been a pub like that. We just don't admit it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't mind all that. Where it got grounded down to earth is where I started to lose my patience with it. Where it was a bit more futuristic and a bit 5 minutes into the future, but left turn as well. That was interesting. Where it got into 2 minutes into the future, it kind of lost me. And also, can someone explain to me the sunset shit?
Well, it's a different. It's like a different society where kind of. G.K. Chesterton said the problem with people not believing in God is they don't believe in nothing. They will literally start to believe in absolutely anything. And that sunset cult is just kind of, I'm guessing, it's one of many cults in this society of kind of, it's much like all the very new age groups and fads and fucking Reiki and various different schools of fucking bollocks yoga that some twats in tracksuits made up. And it's about an Indian as raffia seagrass. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of, it's a symptom of a bored, decadent society of where they're manufacturing fake spiritual experiences. And the point of that scene is that as well as being, you know, he's one of the top killers in the world, but he's still got a sideline as a bogus preacher fronting a cult he doesn't believe in, to the point where he goes and has injections so he can cry at the service because that's expected.
Yeah. And he's only doing
breathtakingly pessimistic and cynical about the human condition.
Yeah, because he was doing it purely for the cash, wasn't he? That was the whole point, because he was bankrupt.
Yeah. And there's like, you know, rival moon worshipper cults who are throwing tomatoes and heckling them. It's kind of, I mean, that tickled me, but you know what I mean. I'm sort of, I see a lot of this I do see kind of in the culture of Mega City 1, of that kind of, sort of, you know, licensed lunacy of just let people get on with it within limits. As long as you keep fucking quiet and keep paying up, you do what you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to join a cult called the Fatties or do boinging or whatever it is. You're away. Yeah, have fun, but you know, step over the line, we're gonna crush you like a fucking bug. Yeah. But yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the whole thing with the, I mean, that was going back to what I was saying before about like just this wealth of ideas is coming off of it. Because you could see the whole thing of like, you know, religion's just a cynical business thing, you know, and it's like, well, yeah, we're sitting here in the future going, you know, present listeners, company accepted, you know, Reverend Org, but you know, there's a whole slew of, you know, organized religion, cash for blessing sort of thing. And you got to say, hang on, you know, where, you know, this is horrifically cynical all the way through. I think and this is probably the next question, I guess, is how much did you think that the atmosphere, the tone of it, even though it was cynical and, you know, it had all these ideas and everything, but that kind of laid-back 60s Italian new wave cool thing, you know, where men are men and women are, you know, sort of either, you know, sex objects that want to marry or basically ice bitches. Do you know what I mean? It was just like there was no in between. It was just either.
Oh, what was that thing that she said? Where he laid her down and he was copping a feel, and she went, "I'm an iceberg," or something like that. I can't remember what she said.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I did, because that was one of those moments where you just go, script, hello, hello. Did you just get this out of a Mills and Boone? I am a block of ice, or something like that, wasn't it? It was something very, very cheesy. But I was just wondering, you know, how much of, I mean, the ideas, the plot itself, that aside, how much do you think the style got in the way of this thing?
I think a lot of it, the style is deliberately languorous and alienating. And it's kind of, the soundtrack, I think, is interesting because a lot of it's very sort of laid back, free-form jazz, which is slightly discordant and chilled out. at the same time.
It's a bit
But then-
Chinzano time, isn't it?
Yeah, but then there's very jazz club, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have this
Nice.
main theme, which is all like poppy la 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 la, and it's really irritating. And it comes, but the way it sort of comes in and the scenes it comes in, I thought, yeah, I think it's meant to be irritating because it's sort of sending up that kind of, this is the hero's theme, isn't it? Annoying, and it's kind of in movie sort of soundtrack terms, it's like the Chicken song. You know what I mean? It's a parody of that. Here's the hero's theme, and here it is again, and it's irritating. It doesn't fit with the rest of the soundtrack. And there's lots of stuff like that. I mean, I felt that it reminded me a lot of Doctor Strangelove in the way that's a very alienating, bleak film, but it's funny at the same time. But you've got to get through the alienation to get to the laughs.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's that kind of... I think if you're looking for influence on this movie, I'd say Strangelove is a good part of call. A film that's sort of funny but not funny at the same time.
Yeah. Though they do try in this one to sort of go loony at the end with the shootout with the ex-wife and the mistress, which is just
the creepy ex-wife,
which is very strange. That is, as a finale, that is a bizarre finale.
So the marriage
Well, I
plane
think
isn't weird then.
Well, the marriage plane was just a different level altogether. But yeah, sorry, Jimmy.
It should have ended when he just shot her and
Yeah.
said the catchphrase. That would have been the perfect end. It didn't need the rest of it.
Well, I mean, it should have. Yeah, it's that point of kind of like going from satire to parody. It just sort of went from like, you know, how cool is all of this, you know, and then it's like, I shot you, you are dead. You know, I've done my contractual obligation, and I have earned my money, and I have won. And it's like, aha, but I have caught you. I have got you, and I have snared you in my trap, and I am actually alive, and I shall shoot you instead. And I will say the phrase and get my contractual obligations. Oh no, we are both alive, and in fact, actually, it's our wives who are coming to kill us. It's like, oh, for God's sakes. Now it was all a big game to get us onto the marriage plane. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think that's a good phrase. What the fuck?
I mean, what about you, Elton? How did you? I mean, do you? I'm going to ask this: do you watch much Italian new wave '60s movies? No, whatever that was.
Hello?
He's gone.
Hello, I think
gone.
he's gone. Hold on, is he still there? No, I think he's getting connection problems there. I'll move on to you, Darren.
Yes.
while he tries to do his thing. Elton, just
Okay.
jump in when you get it working. Go on.
Yep.
So, what about? Oh, he's gone away. What about you, mate? What do you feel about it?
About what, the film in general?
The style. Did you
Style.
think it just gets in the way? Did it?
I think it
Was it
does.
good?
It becomes too important, which is a shame. That's what it became distracting after a while. It's like when he goes to relax and he's walking and posing in every point that he stops in, and it's like, oh, fucking get over yourself. You know, it. I mean, I didn't actually feel anything for that character except, oh, do please fuck off. It's just, yeah, I can't. You know, I've got no empathy for him. He's a bit of a twat. I'm surprised he didn't get a smack in the mouth at one point, just by the whole pulling someone's ear. It's like, what are you doing, mate? You know?
Yeah, I got a feeling that was his manager, or was it his agent or something?
Agent
just
/
like,
manager, and it's kind of, I'm the star, who's in charge here?
I don't know. There's something particularly humiliating about doing that to someone. It's like you're treating them like a small child, you know, because that's what, you know, teachers used to do to kids, grab them by the ear like that. And it's just, I don't know, something about that just annoyed the fuck out of me.
And
That.
I was going to say, and out of all the things that happened in this film, that's the bit that annoyed you.
That is the thing that just come up and just spoke arrogance. I mean, real arrogance. The sort of arrogance that needs a cricket bat to the face. You know,
nice,
that kind of thing. Just to knock him down a few fucking pegs. You know, just that.
Okay, I tell you what. What about the? Let's get to the dubbing because one of the things.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought that was going on with this film, because I was trying to work out what the fuck it was that was sending me on a bit of a fruit loop with this film, because I should have just been sitting there going, oh, look at all the ideas, look at all the ideas, you know, look at this cool aesthetic, but something was really throwing me for a wonk, and I couldn't, and I was all over the place about, like, you know, is it the pacing, is it the editing, is it the acting, is it just the fact that it's taking its own sweet fucking time to get anywhere? And then
we had to pose.
Yeah, everything has to pose. Everything's a Vogue. It's like I say, it's like a Cinzano advert from the 1970s. You know, Cinzano.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, except without Leonard Rossiter or something like that. And I got to the point where I thought, actually, the problem is that you don't fill in the chemistry between these two characters who are supposedly cat and mousing it. And yet, you go, okay, well, hold on, what is it about that? Well, he's posing from point to point, and she's kind of alluring everywhere, but it was the actual dubbing. And the dubbing was so fucking Dogtanian and the Four Muskehounds that everything sounded so stupid. And it was like the whole thing with her trying to get him to the Temple of Venus. And instead of just being like, come with me to the Temple of Venus and we'll sort this all out, it was like every 5 minutes she just walked past him and going, come with me to the Temple of Venus. It's just like, no, you'd have to be blind, deaf, dumb, looking the other way, not to go, that sounds like a very obvious plot. It's like, you must come to the Temple of Venus. It's like, what?
Honest, Governor, there's nothing dodgy here. No, not at all. Nope, sorry.
Yeah. No, sorry, Bob. There's nothing wrong here. Temple, but yes, we could be together. We could run away. We could have time of our lives. I think you're a lovely man and all this sort of thing. We can have an interview. But you must come to me to the Temple of Venus. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. But subtle as a fucking brick through a window. It's like, and it was just like, oh, was it just me? I mean,
no, I watch a lot of foreign films from around the world, and it's kind of always get the subtitles if you can.
Yeah.
Some films, they only have an English dub track, and it's very hard unless you import an Italian DVD to get it. And there's some movies like this, I don't think there is an original Italian soundtrack to it. It was always conceived to be dubbed. And a lot of the time you have a multinational cast and everyone's saying their lines in their own language and then just overdub it all later. And that's a shame, because I mean, from strictly watching a lot of stuff, if you hear the lines in the original language, you can hear, you might understand the language, but you understand the performance.
Yeah.
And when I've seen quite a few Hong Kong movies and Italian movies and Japanese movies, I've seen both the dub and the subtitle version. And the dubbing is always just sucks the performance out into the void.
Yeah.
Apart from in rare cases, you just lose so much. And I hate dubs for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to for that is Akira. I mean, I watched that X amount of times with just, you know, Japanese voice and English subtitles, and then to finally see the American dub on the on the VHS, and it's like, Kaneda Tetsu. It's like, hey Tetsu, how? It's just, oh my god. What, Tetsuo, let's go, Kaneda.
It's like one of three. There's three male voice types, and about two female voice types. You've got either the woman who sounds really serious in his low voice, and you got the one that goes all the time when they overdub it, and it's just like, do you know what? It's like my daughter watches that. Maria sits here in the room and she'll watch anime. and I'll hear that she's. I mean, good on her. She's watching the subtitle version because she don't really like listening to the overdub. But sometimes I'll hear her watching some of these things, and I can't remember which anime she was watching, but that is all I could hear from the female character is this high-pitched squealing, and that's one of the things on the tick boxes that turns me off of watching any kind of anime is that grating thing. And then you listen to it in the proper, like the non-dubbed version, and it's totally different. It's like the men do. It's like, like with the evil villain. And then it like, you listen to the actual proper Japanese version, and they're normally like, I'm going to kill you now, or the equivalent. And it's just that, why do you assume because they're a bad guy that they've got the squeaky voice? The bad, they're not actually quite standard sounding people.
Yeah.
Why do they do this?
It's the Sam Seed. It's the Sam Seed thing, which we used to do. Yeah.
Bonkers.
Who are you? I'm Sam Seed. You heard of me? Sam Seed. Let's go.
It's just like from a kung fu movie that we saw years ago. It's like, and everything was done with two fingers pointing at in really exaggerated movements.
I am Sam Seed. You heard of me?
It's oh fucking hell! No, I haven't heard of you, but I'm sure I could if I was in the room next door.
And you watch stuff like that, and you realise that the film Kung Pao actually is more of a parody than you originally think it is because of that. Was it that one, the one woman that's in it? That's that's all just the noise she just makes. It's like, what the fuck?
Anyway, what about you, Elton? How did you handle the dub?
The dub. Okay. Jim, I'm glad you turned around and said that they recorded some bits in their native language. And
standard Italian practice back in the day. If
pretty
you're
sure
lucky, you got the actor to do his own lines in a different language, but more often than not, they didn't.
Did they do that in Die Like a Cop, Fight Like a Cop, Fly Like a Cop, Quack Like a Cop, whatever it was?
Quack like a duck.
Depends. There's two versions of Amazon. One was the dub, and one was the subtitles.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I can't remember what one I watched now.
Mm.
But anyway,
they do it in all the spaghetti westerns. That's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all coming back now because I was watching it and I was like watching the dub, and you know when you have like the sync is out ever so slightly, and you see the mouth move, and but you're forming the words I'm hearing dubbed. What's going? Why are you doing that? Have I got some issues here? So I stopped it. You know when you stop and back out of it, and reboot. It normally sorts things out, doesn't it? Really weirdly. And I did that. And he was just doing what he was doing in his native language, and she was doing it in her native. Like, I thought something was really a bit cockeyed with what I was, and I was concentrating more on, that's not her voice, is it? No, it's definitely not her voice, but she's saying them words. They're just not in the correct way. I think after about half hour, when that moment when they went to his ex-wife's house, and then he just magically disappeared, and she woke up in that weird long room that looked like a room of nightmares.
That was very bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, then I was like, I'm not going to notice this anymore. It doesn't really. It's not going to affect my enjoyment of it. I'm not going to get any more enjoyment out of it than what I'm getting at the moment. So I'm just going to go along with it. Sod it. I don't care. They could actually flick the V's at the camera right now, and I'll be like, well, that must be just waving to someone behind the camera. I don't know.
Yeah. I must admit the continuity jumps on some of these bits where you were just like you say, like she seems to be lying there. He goes literally just round the corner, and all of a sudden he goes wow, and it's just like what?
And there's that moment when she stood up, walking down that kind of weird corridor with all them mannequins in it, and she sees the ex-wife, and it's got that horror flick of the door slamming, but her looking at you, like half-faced past the door. It's like, oh, okay, this is going to get really creepy and weird now, isn't it? But it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to that whole thing of the way this film felt was like it was just all ideas and all style, and no one was in the middle to sort of wrap it up into a cohesive whole. You were just sitting there going, ooh, where's this going to go? And then it doesn't go anywhere. And it's just like the whole thing with, you know, his annulment with his wife. And I thought, oh, well, that must mean something. You know, there must be something to that. And then it's like, and there's his mistress. And it's like, okay, so there must be something to that. And none of that pays off with anything whatsoever, apart from some random gunfight for about 3.5 seconds until they see one of the actors and then jump his bones in the middle of the fucking car park or whatever the fuck that was. I didn't quite get that. It suddenly turned into a carry-on movie. It was just like, what? Hang on. Have I had a stroke?
One thing I did like during the film is, I think we're kind of first introduced to the guy. I forget the guy's name, sorry. And he's chatting to that lady, and she's like, oh, well, you're very brave just being out in the open here. And then you hear gunshots, and you naturally assume it's for him. But it's a different battle somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I mean,
I wish they'd kind of just evolved that a little bit. You're right. There are a huge amount of brilliant ideas crammed into this. Unfortunately, they didn't go with one. They had all written down on paper, and they wanted, let's just be the first to do this. No one's ever done this. Let's do this. Let's all throw it all in there, and at least we've done it first. But you didn't come out with something cohesive that I really, really enjoyed. You had nuggets thrown all over the place.
Yeah.
But nothing I could really get my teeth into.
Yeah. I think that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, overall, I mean, the middle section, the second act is completely just treading water, along with the fact that you've got literally just nothing going on. She's just constantly trying to get him to go to this venue, and he's trying to work out what the fuck's going on while trying to get paid for doing random religious shit. You're like, okay, I'm sure this is going to work out somewhere. I mean, okay, someone explain to me what the fuck was going on with that plane at the end. I mean, was because again, I don't know if I just blacked out or blood. I started to smell almonds and fell over or something. But they got away. They got on a plane, and then it turned out that it was all a big con job, and she wanted them on the plane so that they could get married. Was that ultimately the plot that she was aiming for?
This is what I was struggling with, because when I was watching it, I didn't really realise. I thought that was just like a stupid little twist at the end, just to finish the film, to give them... They'd kind of written themselves into a corner. They didn't know where to go. Wouldn't it be fun if we killed him?
I think it was just adding another twist to where they didn't need a twist. I mean, when we were watching it, I said to Reese when they're having the gun battle and saying it should have shot... ended with him shooting her and saying his line for the payday. Yeah, that'd be brilliant and cold. But when they got on the divorce plane, I said, "Oh, all right, no, I'll take that back. Let's see where this goes." Because the idea of you got the Catholic Church still very powerful in mid-60s Italy, and in this sort of sidestep or the trouser leg of time, they say divorce is a complete nightmare. So no one gets married. The idea is you have a plane that like the old ships they used to have in the Prohibition in America. You go into international law waters and serve your booze. And the idea of having a plane where people can go and get married, because it did sort of tickle me. It sort of fitted with that future, but It seems like they kill him, but kind of who, why has the computer gone? Hang on, these two are fucking with the game, so we'll send out an assassin to take them out because you play the game, you play by the rules, and if you don't play by the rules, do not pass go, do not pass $200.
Yeah.
I was a bit unclear about it, but to me, it just felt like an unnecessary sort of twist at the end. Film didn't need it.
Again, it's that whole thing of they've got a grab bag of hundreds and hundreds of ideas, and they're just trying to shove every single one of them onto the screen, but without an idea of how it fits together as a cohesive whole. Because even that idea of that whole thread of, as you say, Jim, sort of taking a pot shot satire at like Catholic Church, that they literally start the entire film by going, the world approves this, this hunt, but the Catholic Church won't get involved, won't say one thing or the other. And it's like, okay, so they're not stepping in, so they've got no moral standpoint for this, so even the religions don't give a shit. And then it's like, but yet somehow they give a shit enough to have, marriage planes where annulments take 6 months, and marriage planes, you get shot if you don't get married and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, wow, well, that's, that in itself could just be a dystopian fucking thriller by itself, And again, it's just that whole thing of you go, well, that's really cool, but you literally just threw away that entire thread in like a one gag at the beginning, one shootout in the middle with your wife and mistress, and some weird side plot about one leaking information to the other, and then a plane at the end.
I like that idea, Jim, of the game trying to suss them out, sort them out. Because I find it very hard, even though it is weird and wacky, I find it very hard that was the end game, or that was a backup plan of hers to off him and for her to get the money. I like the idea that they got onto a plane and, you've kind of won and you get away and you can get married. By the way, the game is seen through all your tactics, exactly what you've been doing, been watching you the whole time. We're going to take you out. I think that suits it much better.
Well, which is good. If you had any hint of that was what was going on, we're back to that old thing of if you have to fill in the blanks yourself and also read a backstory and watch a podcast, it's not in the story. It's just not there. But
not a played for ending.
No, you shot for it, but you didn't play it. You didn't win it. Yeah. You didn't land that goal. Darren, you got any thoughts on that, mate?
Well, just a fucking wedding plane. I mean, Jesus Christ! I keep coming back to that. It's just what the absolute fuck.
Okay, yeah.
Or the bit that made me, I think it was when my eyes just rolled, was the skin-coloured armour. And it's just like,
skin-coloured armour. Oh, what her armour, bulletproof armoured dress.
I've got a bulletproof dress on. It's like, have you seen that dress? It covers a very small amount of area. It's like that old joke about female armour in, old fantasy films. It's like you got the guy comes along, he's wearing a full suit of plate mail, and the woman's got a chainmail bikini. That's apparently gives the same protection.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was this. It's just like you can't just end it with somebody getting killed. You've got to do this a triple bluff.
Yeah.
You've just reminded
this is the
me.
thing that influenced Peter Jackson.
Yeah, go on, Elton.
Yeah, you've just reminded me. There's a scene in the middle which I found bonkers, where he's at like a gun range or collecting weapons or just doing something. And
you mean the training school?
Yeah. And they got a drive-by bit. It's big enough to have a drive-by testing range.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It's the Big Hunt Dojo, basically.
Yeah. That was the thing. There was so many like weird moments like that where you just sort of thought, I literally, I don't know about you, but I got the sense half the time that they just suddenly found a place that would suit something that just popped into the head of the director. It's just like, he walks into a big open area and it's like, oh yeah, this can be a fight dojo. Actually, we got a place for a drive-by. Can we have a drive-by? Yeah, we got a car outside. Does anyone mind not, firing at some cars? Yeah, we got a spare couple of guns.
Are we sure this wasn't directed by that bloke who did that one about the cops we watched? We're like, I tell you what we'll do is we'll ride a bike through a brick wall to get to the actual hostages.
Live like a cop, die like a man.
Yeah, that one.
Hold on, I don't
but
know.
they had, like, some spare budget.
Different director.
They weren't related.
No.
It's not a pseudonym. No.
Nope.
No, that was
the fight dojo. I saw that as kind of like sending up the spy-fi scenes of where Bond goes to see Q, and there's people demonstrating all these ludicrous fucking one-use gadgets like killer umbrellas, and this was this world's equivalent of that. Now that was very much kind of sending up that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. But again, that's the thing, isn't it? You're sitting there going, "Oh, that's a lovely little satire," but it sort of just pops out of nowhere, disappears just as quickly, and there's very little context for it while it's going on, and you're just like, "What?"
The thing is, I think that the film does build this idea that if you join the big hunt, you have to get to about to win about 3 before anyone will start paying attention. You're someone running around with a gun or running from someone with a gun. Once you get to round 5, you will get a manager. Yeah. Once you're around 7, you've ve got a full PR department working with you as well. And if you're getting close to the end, you've got like a full celebrity, entourage like she has. And, you know what I mean? Deals flying around.
Trainers.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads to things like the Hunger Games, with the governments and everyone wanting to side with the sort of Katniss Everdeen character, sort of like, hey, look, she's on our side. She's one of the good girls. Look at this, and sort of parading them in front of everyone. I mean, again, it's that whole thing. You just go, I can see 100 films springing from this. I can see 100 stories. He's just flying off in every direction. It's just a shame that this one's just so odd. I mean, it's gonna be probably a bit of apocryphal, but could you see anyone remaking this?
I believe there's been plans to do another version of it.
Really?
A couple of times down the years. Because there's probably one in development hell as we speak, because basically anything that's ever been made before has been re-optioned.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't got any fucking ideas of our own, and everyone's too coked off their tits.
Well, as we were discussing earlier with Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, yeah.
I'd like to see a Tarantino version.
Yep,
of this.
there is a remake in development, allegedly.
Is there? Oh, my life. Oh, God. Who's doing it?
It doesn't say.
Oh, well, that's good, because I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see what anyone would do, but then I can't. I just see it doing that sort of like John Carter thing again, where you sort of like it's the origin of everything, but when it's remade, everyone just goes, "Oh, it's derivative of everything."
Yeah. Well, I think that the analog here would be Death Race 2000. That's been remade very forgettably.
Yeah.
You might say, narratively and technically, the remake is a better movie, but it misses the satire. It misses all the crazy things that made the first one fun in the first place. If you know what I mean. I could see a remake of this going the same way. You'd end up with something that looked like a cheap cash-in from the Arnie Rubber Running Man, rather than a different version of the 10th Victim. Yeah. If you got Dennis Villeneuve to do it, you might get something really good. But you probably get Paul Thomas Anderson,
Paul W.S. Anderson,
yeah, whatever his fucking name. Man with too many middle names.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You get. And probably put Jason Statham in it as Ursula Andress or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The Total Recall remake.
Oh, I'm an iceberg.
Oh God, what Len Wiseman, who does all the Underworld movies. Oh yeah, he'd do it, wouldn't he? He'd do it for a cup of tea.
And probably put a tunnel to Australia in or some fucking bollocks, or a giant elevator to the moon that wasn't in the original. Because hey, why not?
Well, you'd also know that with his cuck fantasies with his wife, sort of Kate Beckinsale. Your chances are she'd cop off with some hunky bloke, just for no discernible reason, just so he could film it. Yeah. Anyway, it turns out I just looked it up. The 10th Victim. I can see if you can work out why it stopped being in development. Firstly, Brendan Fraser. Yes, that one. Brendan Fraser, as in the bloke from The Mummy, says he's developing an update of the 10th Victim. Yeah. And it was going to have Rebecca Romijn Stamos, a.k.a. the old Mystique, in it. And then he was looking to get John McTiernan to direct. Well, John McTiernan is currently in jail, so that's probably where it fell down. I can imagine that's quite where it all went tits up.
That's going to put the brakes on things, isn't it?
I think so. That would definitely put the mockers on things somewhat. Yes. I think he's in. Yeah, he pleaded guilty to perjury and lying to an FBI agent.
Beautiful, man.
Not good.
Yeah. So that may well be quite why he. That and the fact that he, in between getting that announced and getting done for perjury, he made the remake of Rollerball, which only has one award to its name, which is Stinker's Bad Movie Award from Razzies. So,
is it?
God, I've forgotten about the Rollerball remake.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, never mind. He went to jail in 2015. So, and all of his assets have been liquidized, and he was filed for bankruptcy. So, he's out the picture.
Right. Okay.
No 10th Victim remake. Then it might be on hiatus permanently. But there you go. So, any last thoughts on this film? I mean, for my money, I loved the ideas. I loved the aesthetic. I hated the dubbing. I hated the languid direction and the kind of too cool for school Italian sort of vibe, which just kind of ground it to a halt for me. Any other last thoughts, Jim? Darren, anyone?
I'd go along with that. I mean, I think it's a film definitely worth seeing. But it does just unravel at the end in just straight threads, unfortunately. But yeah, as I say, though, it's one of those movies that it is definitely worth a watch because there's so much in there, and there's still so much in there that hasn't been yet mined and and exploited, as it were. If you know what I mean, it's still got so many ideas up its sleeve no one's got round to touching yet.
Yeah, definitely. Go on.
And when you think this is before the age of reality TV, I think kind of what it is saying, and it is quite remarkable. That's it is kind of still genuinely far-sighted. Going, fucking hell, someone foresaw the age of the terrible vacuous people who will turn up for the opening of a paper bag and will sell you anything.
Yep, pretty much. Okay. What about you, Dal? Any last thoughts, mate?
No, I think I've said everything I'm going to say about this.
Okay. Elton?
After chatting with you guys about this and just listening to you throwing the ideas around, I'd like to watch it again and absorb it. Now I know where it's going to go, what it's doing, and little things to look out for. I'd like to watch it again and just see how I feel about it the second time round, because I think I might get more from it.
I mean,
I think I was a bit cynical about it the first time round.
No. I don't think you're too cynical with it. I think all the problems that are with it are definitely with it, and there are not. It's not a perfect movie.
No.
I think the thing is, sometimes when you watch these films, you're looking to just grasp onto something or anything to kind of get you through. And like I say, for my money, and I don't know how Jim, whether Jim feels the same, but for my money, it was literally more of a case of going, oh, it's a little history story here, because I'm seeing that, and it's like a shopping list of all media that came after it. Did I enjoy the film? Absolutely not. I sat there through it feeling both equally bored, confused, and slightly bemused by the whole thing. But I appreciated its look, I appreciated its style, and I appreciated its ideas. Would I watch it again? Probably not. Would I? I mean, when I see reviews where everyone's saying it's like a remarkable tour de force and an amazing film, I think I feel like Will Ferrell in Zoolander. I feel like I was taking crazy pills. But you can't look at something like that and deny what it did in the future. So I kind of sit there on the fence with this one, with a sort of like, I really didn't like it in places and for reasons, but I really did appreciate it for what it did and how it presented various ideas and that kind of thing. Sort of, like I say, everything. Hunger Games, Death Race 2000, RoboCop, Running Man, fucking Logan's Run, Clockwork Orange. These, just, they're all there. Every single one of them. And more, The Purge, Series 7, The Contenders, which we did years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but every reality TV based thing, with cynical corporate interests, even you could even go as far as to say, well, the idea of sort of things like Blade Runner and stuff like that, where corporations have completely overrun everything, and just, as long as the population stays fucking quiet, we don't give a shit what they do, And so there's a lot of stuff in there where you can sit there and just pick it apart and be really chin-strokey about it and absolutely get something out of it. But if someone was to say, what are we going to watch this evening? I don't think I would ever, in my wildest dreams, think, oh, I know, I'll put The 10th Victim on because we should sit down and watch that.
Do you think it's more of someone watches a film like Battle Royale or Blade Runner or The Running Man, and you can turn around to them and say, if you enjoyed that, see where the embers first originated and go over watch of this.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I say, I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I would say that, if you got enough interest in where it came from to the point where you're going to sit there and look on Wiki for the next 6 hours, I'd say, well, save yourself a rabbit hole, just watch this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And, and see the ideas and see the origin of this stuff. But, how much you enjoy it is how much kitsch you're willing to consume to get to it, is what.
Yeah.
Jim, do you agree with that? Or
I think it's kind of, I'm trying to find a musical analogy, but it's kind of like, right, so I've got records I put on for different reasons, like kind of, let's have you say, stick, getting out to go ready, or put on some Underworld, or maybe some of The Damned, or something a bit upbeat, and you have a bit of bop to. Other times you want to listen to something, sit down and actually listen to a record, and you that's when you sort of going to, like, like John Coltrane or Captain Beefheart, sort of difficult, challenging listening things, and lots of textures, and it's not just oral wallpaper. And I felt this was a kind of very jazz movie, like that, and by definition very chin-strokey. But there's a time and a place for chin-strokey music and chin-strokey films. I don't think it's, unless you're really, really into 60s cinema, you're probably not going to go, this is my Saturday night movie. But you know what I mean? But for a Sunday night, maybe, or a Tuesday night, and, you want something not just to turn your mind off to, well, maybe this fits the bill. But, it's kind of, as I say, I think it's a film, definitely, if you're interested in cinema, you should see it. You might not like it, but there's so much in there that it won't be a wasted trip.
I think that's perfect. That's a perfect encapsulation. It's that whole thing of it's how much history of cinema you want to get out of it. If you want to go back to the start, it's almost like what's the more mainstream version? I mean, it's like people say, "Oh, I loved The Magnificent Seven." Okay, well, go watch Seven Samurai. You know what I mean? Go back and watch that. See where it came from. Or someone says, "Oh, I really love Star Wars." Well, I tell you what, go back and watch Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress. Way back, a samurai movie, but it is 100% Star Wars. You could watch that and just overlay a sci-fi sheen on it, and there's your story. And there's, it is that kind of thing. You might not necessarily like samurai movies, but if you like Star Wars and you want to get more out of Star Wars, or you go back and watch Hidden Fortress, or what we did when you were doing that Alien thing for Hypnagogia, Jim, when we went back and watched Galaxy of Terror and Terror
Planet of the Vampires,
and It Terror Beyond Space. They're not the best films ever, but you watch them and you go, "Oh, that's a little bit extra. Oh, I get that now. Oh, I understand how clever the filmmaker's using those bits." And like I say, go back to Austin Powers. We watched Austin Powers last week, but actually, when you watch this, you realise how more cine literate Austin Powers the film actually was, because you suddenly go, "Oh, there's the Jubbly Cannon," and there's and there's Ming T, where Austin Powers came from. There's this aesthetic of kind of crazy 60s kitsch, but futuristic kitsch. It's right here. This is it. This is ground zero, and stuff like that. And you kind of go, "Oh, well, it might not be, as Jim says, it might not be a cup of tea, but at least you're not just watching it just to watch it. You're getting something out of it, as long as you come at it with the right mindset."
It also opens my eyes to how clever people are. Like Mike Myers, right? You've mentioned about like the Ming T and the machine gun jubblies, right? I always thought of that as like a James Bond spoof and little bits here, there, and everywhere, and like machine gun jubblies, that was just a joke. But to realise, no, he's aware of this movie, and probably others that I'm unaware of, and he's taken that and he's put it in there, and no one else has mentioned it. No one else has turned around to me and said, "Oh yeah, check out this film." That's where he got that idea from. No one has ever turned around to me and said that. And yet it's there.
Yeah.
And it shows you how well versed the people that you think are well versed, but not as well versed as this. It's just it blows my mind and opens my eyes to. Yeah, we knock on Mike Myers for being a bit of an idiot and love guru and crap like that. But then you realise, no, he's got a bit of brain behind him, and taking that, and it's gone underneath everyone else's radar to pop up in his film. And ta-da, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got to kind of work it out. You kind of work out your track on your own.
Yeah, well, it is. It's that whole thing of, he stuck a reference to an avant-garde 60s science fiction movie from, Italy into a mainstream Hollywood comedy blockbuster and, presented it as a gag to everyone, and everyone's like, oh, that's really funny. But it's like, no, actually, that's a fucking proper full-on hardcore scene illiterate reference right there.
Yeah. And for the last 25 years, he's been going, no one ever got that. No one got that.
Yeah,
no one got that. Everyone missed that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the rendition of Death from Ingmar Bergman's Seventh Seal. Turning up in fucking Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You're kind of like, well, okay, so do you think the average teenager from the 90s watching that film was kind of going, fuck, that's a brilliant Ingmar Bergman reference there. I totally dig that. And it's stuff like that which you do appreciate. You kind of go, well, okay, fine. That's good because that's giving you a little bit extra. And that's when you go back and watch films like 10th Victim, because you go back and you go, oh, now I've got a little bit of historical context. Not only do I appreciate the gag, but I appreciate the history behind it.
Yeah.
I might not necessarily like the origins of this thing, but, it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Any last thoughts then? I've said any last thoughts twice, but I'll say it one last time. Anyone? Anything else?
No, I'm all good.
No, we're done.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, yeah, we have hit that midnight mark, so we should probably just wrap it up. Okay, then. Well, thank you very much for that. And if anyone has watched 10th Victim, I know that Martin Thompson and Reverend Peter Organ watched it the other night, so they were bamboozled, I think is probably the best way of putting it from what I was reading on Twitter. But if anybody else has got any thoughts on this, by all means send it in. Put it on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Black Dog Podcast, or put it to me on Twitter @Black Dog Podcast, or send it in as an email to feedback@Black Dog Podcast. And 10th Victim is available on Amazon Prime. Right, okay, now it's time for my film. And I did have a load of films, but I thought, you know what, we'll just go straight in for a totally different film and just picked one out at random. I will be honest with you, before Darren got on, I did throw out the options in the green room. Nobody influenced me. They just kind of like, I was just listening as they was saying the ones I had, and then the one that actually got them going, ooh, that's the one I picked. So Darren, you've got Jim and Elton to blame for this if you don't like it.
Oh God.
No. Okay. So this week's one is available on Netflix. It is from South Korea, and it is, I think it's South Korea anyway. I didn't actually check, like an idiot. But it is Infernal Affairs. Now, if you haven't heard of this film, chances are you will have heard of its remake by Martin Scorsese, which was The Departed.
Right.
So, there you go. We have the Asian equivalent of that film, which involves a detective who's infiltrated the underground mob, and the underground mobster who's infiltrated the police, and they are looking for each other, trying to find out who's leaking what to whom, and just cop things ensue. I can't really say much more than that, because if you haven't seen Departed, I'll be ruining it for you, and if you haven't seen this, obviously I'll be ruining that for you. So, have we seen the Infernal Affairs? I nearly said Departed. Has anyone seen Infernal Affairs?
I haven't, but I'm looking forward to getting very confused, because it sounds confusing, and now it's in Korean, so it's even more confusing.
Great. Jim?
I'm not sure if I've seen this one or not. I watched a lot of these sort of movies back in the day. This is one there's an awful lot of similar plots.
Yes.
Or variants of this kind of infiltration and double dealing, and I can't remember if I got around to seeing this one or not at the end. In the end, so I'll be interested. It might be acid flashback, so it might be something entirely new. But I'm pleased either way.
Cool. Okay. And what about you, Dal?
No, don't think I've ever seen this.
No. Have you seen The Departed?
Nope.
You've not seen The Departed either?
I've got no frame of reference.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, well, there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, next week's movie is my pick. It is Infernal Affairs. As I say, you can find it on Netflix, and I think it's Netflix International as well. So you can, if you're overseas, I think you can watch along as well. So that's that. So we'll see you all next week for that. But before we go, Jim, do you want to just let everyone know what's going on in Hypnagoria?
Yes, I'm drawing to close the first half of my history of Universal Horror, and we've just on Comedy Club done one of the worst fucking films I've ever sat through. Patient Zero, a film that was shelved for years, and it should have frankly stayed there.
I knew it. As soon as I saw it come up on Twitter the other day, I was like, that swear jar's getting absolutely hammered. I was not surprised. I was not surprised. Right. Elton, what about you, sir? What's going on over at Rogue 2?
What have we done? We've still got the Grand Prix podcast going on at the moment. Sean Collab, I haven't sorted anything out just yet, but I will get around to recording an episode very soon. And I've just released an episode of Into the Expanse, where we are just... it's like a feedback episode, basically. So we're just going over what we've seen throughout the whole season, and feedback comments as well.
Okay, brilliant. And Darren, have you appeared on anything apart from Crime Watch?
No, I've not appeared on anything.
apart from some hackers' search boards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Russian mafia war.
Yeah. Find him, kill him. Take his personality. Okay. Well, fair enough. And again, if you're here, you're listening to this, you found me, so congratulations. Anyway, so that's that. Right. Well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Elton.
No problem.
Okie dokie. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay safe, and we shall see you all next week for Infernal Affairs. So, until then, take care, and we'll see you all next time. Tatty bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. It's where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll want to settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on.
Get out of the booth, Jack.
No, I like it in here.